Jason and Lucia are the first dual protagonists in GTA history who are not just partners in crime, they're actually together, romantically, which immediately sets them apart from every other lead Rockstar's ever written, different from Michael and Trevor's toxic brotherhood, or Franklin and Lamar's hood loyalty. This is Bonnie and Clyde dropped into a fictionalized Florida swamp full of alligators, strip malls, and opportunities to rob everything that isn't bolted down. Jason is the calmer half of the operation. He's methodical, thinks things through, probably the type to scope out a job 3 times before pulling it. He's not a hothead, he's not trying to prove anything, he's just trying to survive and build something with Lucia, even if that something is a criminal empire funded by stick-ups and heists. His whole energy reads like someone who's been around the block, seen how bad things can go when you rush, and decided patience is the real weapon. He's the driver who keeps his cool when the cops are 2 blocks behind, the guy who talks his way out of situations before they turn into shootouts. But don't mistake that for soft. Jason will absolutely pull the trigger when it's necessary. He just prefers not to make it necessary. Lucia, on the other hand, is the spark. She's the one pushing forward, taking risks, refusing to stay small. The leaked footage shows her in prison early in the story, which means she's already paid a price for the life they're living, and that changes a person. You don't do time in a Florida correctional facility and come out the same. She's hungrier now, more desperate, more willing to do whatever it takes to make sure she never ends up back in a cell. Lucia's not reckless, but she's aggressive. She's the one who sees an opportunity and says, "We're doing this," before Jason's even finished calculating the risk. She's got that edge, that refusal to accept limits. And in the GTA universe, that's what separates people who stay small time from people who build empires. What makes them work as a pair is the balance. Jason keeps Lucia grounded when her ambition starts pushing them toward heat they can't handle. Lucia keeps Jason moving when he's overthinking and letting opportunities slip. They're co-founders of their own criminal operation, and that partnership is the engine of the entire story. Every heist, every score, every move they make is a negotiation between caution and aggression, strategy and instinct. And because they're together, the stakes are personal. If one of them gets pinched, the other doesn't just lose a crew member, they lose their partner, their future, everything. The setting amplifies all of this. Leonita, Rockstar's twisted version of Florida, is a state built on contradictions. Swamps and skyscrapers, tourists and drug runners, strip clubs next to retirement communities. It's the kind of place where you can rob a convenience store in the morning and be sipping mojitos on a yacht by sunset. Jason and Lucia aren't trying to take over a city like Liberty or Los Santos. They're navigating a sprawling, humid, unpredictable wasteland where the rules change depending on which county you're in. That chaos suits them. They're not big fish yet. They're hustlers trying to become big fish in a place where everyone's either running a scam or falling for one. Their relationship also introduces something GTA's never really explored: genuine intimacy between protagonists. Michael had a family, but they were falling apart. Nico had lovers, but they were distractions or liabilities. Jason and Lucia are building something together, in real time, and that makes every decision heavier. When they plan a job, they're not just risking their own lives, they're risking each other. That's a different kind of tension. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about loyalty, trust, and whether 2 people can hold it together when the world's trying to tear them apart. Jason's probably the strategist, the one who handles logistics, routes, timing. He's the guy who knows which roads the cops patrol and which back alleys lead to dead ends. He's been doing this long enough to know that half the job is preparation, and the other half is staying calm when the preparation falls apart. He doesn't need to be flashy. He's the type who walks into a room and immediately clocks every exit, every camera, every person who might be a problem. And when things go sideways, because in GTA they always go sideways, he's the one who adapts, pivots, keeps the crew moving toward the objective even when the plan's in flames. Lucia's the closer, the one who walks into a bank, looks the manager in the eye, and makes them believe she'll absolutely pull the trigger if they don't open the vault. She's got presence, she commands attention, and she's not afraid to get loud, get violent, get messy if that's what the job requires. But she's also smart enough to know when to pull back, when to let Jason take the lead, when to play the role that gets them out alive. She's adaptable, but she's always pushing the envelope, always testing limits, always looking for the next big score that'll set them up for life. The fact that Lucia's already been locked up adds a layer of desperation to her character. She's not doing this for thrills. She's doing this because she refuses to end up broke, powerless, or back behind bars. That prison stint probably taught her how the system works, how people survive when they've got nothing, and how thin the line is between freedom and a cell. She came out harder, sharper, and more determined to never let anyone put her in a position of weakness again. That makes her dangerous. not just to her enemies, but to herself. Because people who refuse to lose sometimes take risks they shouldn't. Jason and Lucia are not trying to be kingpins, at least not at first. They're just trying to carve out a piece of the Florida underworld, stack enough cash to live comfortably, maybe retire somewhere the cops don't care and the heat doesn't follow. But in GTA, ambition has a way of escalating. One job leads to another. A small score turns into a big heist. A local crew becomes a target for national attention. And suddenly, two people who just wanted to survive are caught in a war they never planned for, with enemies they never saw coming, fighting for a future they're not even sure exists anymore. The dynamic between them will likely shift throughout the story. Early on, they're equals. Two people against the world, making decisions together, splitting the work, covering each other's backs. But as the stakes get higher, cracks start to show. Maybe Jason wants to pull back after a close call, and Lucia sees that as weakness. Maybe Lucia takes a risk that puts them both in danger, and Jason questions whether he can trust her judgment. That's where the real drama lives. Not in the heists themselves, but in the moments between, when they're trying to figure out if they're still on the same page or if the life they chose is tearing them apart. What separates Jason and Lucia from past GTA protagonists is that they're not haunted by the past in the same way. Nico was running from war crimes, Michael was drowning in regret and family dysfunction, Trevor was pure chaos with childhood trauma bubbling underneath, CJ was trying to save his family and his hood, Tommy Vercetti was betrayed and wanted revenge. Jason and Lucia aren't defined by trauma or revenge. They're defined by ambition and survival. They're looking forward, not backward. They're not trying to escape their past. They're trying to build a future. And that's a fundamentally different motivation. It makes them hungrier, more optimistic in a twisted way, and ultimately more tragic when the world refuses to let them have what they want. Quick thing, if you want every GTA mission, character, and hidden detail broken down, the moment it drops, hit that subscribe button. We're covering the entire universe with zero fluff. Now, back to Lucia and Jason. There's also the question of how Rockstar will handle switching between them. In GTA 5, you could swap between Michael, Franklin, and Trevor at almost any time, and each character had their own side missions, properties, and storylines. With Jason and Lucia, the switch mechanic might be tighter, more narratively driven. You might play as Jason during the planning phase of a heist, gathering intel, setting up the crew, mapping escape routes. Then you switch to Lucia for the execution, the moment when everything goes loud and the adrenaline spikes. Or maybe it's the opposite. Lucia handles the recon, the charm, the social engineering, while Jason's the muscle when things inevitably fall apart. The point is, their skills complement each other, and the game will likely force you to use both to succeed. Their relationship also raises the stakes for player choice. If Rockstar introduces branching paths or major decisions, and let's be honest, they probably will, those choices won't just affect one character, they'll affect both. Do you take the high-risk job that could set you up for life, or do you play it safe and keep grinding? Do you trust the new contact, or do you cut them loose before they become a liability? And if one of you gets caught, does the other risk everything to break them out, or do they walk away and start over? These aren't just gameplay decisions. They're relationship decisions. And in a game about two people trying to build something together, that's where the emotional weight comes from. Jason and Lucia also represent a shift in how Rockstar approaches character design. Past protagonists were often archetypes. The immigrant chasing the American dream, the retired criminal pulled back in, the street kid trying to rise up, the psychopath who just wants to watch the world burn. Jason and Lucia feel more grounded, more human. They're not larger-than-life figures. They're just two people trying to make it in a world that's designed to chew them up and spit them out. That relatability makes them more compelling. You're not playing as a legend or a monster. You're playing as someone who could be real. Someone who's making the same choices you might make if you were desperate enough, angry enough, or brave enough to try. If you think these new GTA 6 protagonists have wild storylines, wait until you see how betrayal has shaped the entire series. Watch the 7 levels of betrayal in GTA history next. And hey, if you love deep dives like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown.